million darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. Today I'm going to review Jackpot by Nic Stone. I listened to the audiobook for this, which was read by the author. This is a young adult contemporary novel following Rico as she and one of her classmates, Zan, try to track down this winner of a lottery ticket that Rico sold at the gas station she works at. And Rico partially wants to do this because it was like a little old lady who said that she has problems with her memory, and so Rico thinks she may have just forgot that she bought the ticket. And also she's kind of hoping maybe she'll get a bit of a reward because Rico's pretty poor and could really, having any kind of extra money would be super helpful. So this whole story is set up as this quest to find the winning lottery ticket, and it's got adventure and mystery and trying to figure out the next steps kind of thing happening in here. But it's also a little bit of a romance, a story about friendship between her and Zan, and also just a massive commentary on money and how our society views it as Rico's really poor, Zan comes from a really rich family, and so we see these contrasts in how they both view money and how they were both raised to view money. And it also looks at racism and prejudice and privilege, as they're both people of color. So Rico is 17. She is working in a gas station because her family's poor. It's just her mother, her, and a younger brother who's in elementary school, middle school. He's really young. So even though her mom is working 2 jobs, I think they're both 2 full-time jobs, but she's working a lot, they're still not making enough because they're living in an area that is outside what they can actually afford. So they're constantly behind in bills and barely making it. And their mother is just too proud to actually take help. She doesn't want to be on food stamps or have Medicaid, Medicare, whatever. So there's a lot of stress for Rico as she's 17 and everybody else is planning to go to college, and Rico knows she can't afford that. And her mom's making such a big deal about how they should be in the school district because it's going to give them better opportunities. But Rico's also 17, looking at her life and saying, yeah, but I don't get to enjoy any of those opportunities if I'm working constantly. She's going to graduate high school and she's just going to work full time at the gas station next year. She doesn't really have much to look forward to. So Rico is working at the gas station on Christmas Eve, and she finds out the next day that there were 2 winning lottery tickets sold that night, Mega Millions type deal. I don't remember what it's actually called, but the winning lottery ticket that they're trying to find is worth $106 million. So it's a lot. And she knows that it was sold on her store on Christmas Eve, and it was her and her boss working that day. And so Rico thinks it might have been one of the 2 people that she sold tickets to, even though she knows it could also have been somebody that her boss sold it to. But the winning lottery ticket happens to have Rico's birth date in it, and she remembered that this old woman had her birth date on it. She commented and she's like, oh, that's my birth date. And the woman was like, oh, well, that's really lucky. So she remembers this little old lady. Plus she's a senior citizen. She's being really friendly. She actually bought 2 tickets and gave one of them to Rico, which is what made Rico start imagining what she could do with all this money. And Rico ends up without the winning lottery ticket, but she's pretty sure the little woman has the actual winning lottery ticket. And that's what set her off to try to find her and track her down and gently remind her of the ticket. But her boss is like, we can't be tracking this down. You've got a little bit of a bonus here from us selling the ticket. I'm going to give you a share of that. That should be good. But Rico's imagination is just captured onto this. And so she enlists one of her classmates named Zan, who is really good at hacking, to come break into this store security footage because it's password locked. So she can find out which car the woman got into and track license plates and stuff. And so that sets her and Zan off in this quest of working together. They're not friends at school, Zan and Rico. In fact, Rico doesn't have many friends, and so this is her gradually starting to become friends with Zan, and then Zan's friends and really becoming more part of her class. Because she never felt like she really belonged because of where she lives in town and how they don't have money, and then also having to work all the time, and she can't really jump in and join any clubs to get to know people. So Rico's been feeling pretty isolated. Whereas Zan and his family are millionaires. Zan's dad owns a toilet paper company, like a multi-million-dollar corporation. Everybody in school and in the community knows him and his family. And so Zan also has problems with not trusting people because they try to get close to him for his money. And so there's this other side of it. And we also see how he views money and the lessons his dad is trying to instill in him to be like a good businessman and how to handle money that way. And it's really interesting and really surprising, and a commentary on money issue. Like, money comes up so much in the story, is really like the major focal point of it. Both Rico and Zan come from mixed families. Rico is African American and I think Spanish. Like, her dad's from Europe. Whereas Rico comes from a Hispanic / I think he's passing as white. Like, it takes Rico a while to figure out that he's actually mixed and not just white, because part of having money also means that some of the racism issues don't affect him quite the same way, but also he's still mixed, and so they kind of do. There's so much happening in this book, and it really digs into these character stories and looking at privilege and their situations in life and comparing and contrasting them. But also they find similarities and do become friends, and they do start having a bit of a romance. We also see Rico's devotion to her family and her relationship with her mother and her little brother. Her little brother idolizes her, and they share a room, and so she ends up having to babysit him a lot too because he's so young. And so they have like a really, really close relationship. Whereas the mom has a bit of distance because she's never home and she's always working, and when she is home, she's having to take care of the younger brother. So it kind of stresses in a family relationship that way. And we get a good depiction of what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck in today's society. What happens when healthcare bills show up? What happens when you can't pay the rent? Or you have to decide whether it's important to buy food or something else? What happens when you start falling behind and like trying to dig yourself out of that? So we really get to look at that. We also see her trying to do normal teenage stuff. So, like, how complicated is prom when you can't afford a prom dress? That kind of stuff is happening in here. This book has lots of really funny, really cute moments in it. I really did like Rico and Zan's story and their relationship. I like the fact that they do actually fall in love and start dating. But it's not like a straight over-the-top romance either. Like, he's having to learn how to trust her and when to give her space. Because he's kind of got this, I'm in charge, and I, held this important part in society, so he's used to taking control, and Rico's like, I'm used to being on my own and doing everything for myself. So they have to, like, work on that part of their relationship also. Rico is incredibly sarcastic, which is part of her upbringing and part of her putting up walls to distance herself from others. But I really loved her sarcastic attitude and related to it. And I like Zan's. He's also got walls, but he's also not quite as bitter as her. So they've got an interesting mix in relationship and like their personalities. And there's also parts of this book that are told from the viewpoint of inanimate objects. So like there's a couple pages where it's written from the lottery ticket's perspective. There's like her prom dress. Zan's car narrates for a while. The money she got as her bonus for selling the winning lottery ticket. They all have commentary and things to say about the two of them and about society and how they are valued. And so we get a look at the value that we put into money and objects through their perspectives, which was really interesting. I also like Nic Stone reading them. Like, her voices were just funny and giving them each their own personality. So I enjoyed Jackpot by Nic Stone. It was fun and cute and light. I listened to the audiobook in an entire day. Of course, I was also sitting making masks for the 8-10 hours that this audiobook was. So I didn't really have anywhere else to go, but I also really enjoyed that time and appreciated it. So I had fun. On the whole, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I love Rico and Zan, but I also feel like not necessarily going to come back to them over and over the way that I do with a 5-star book. And yes, I loved inhabiting this world for a little bit, but it's also one that when I stopped listening to the book, I kind of was easy to also move around and move away from and move on from. So 4 stars, solid read, really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if you have read Jackpot by Nic Stone. Are there any other books you recommend? I know she wrote Dear Martin also, and that's been on my TBR since it came out, but also it's a much darker book about race relations, and I'm definitely not ready to deal with it in a pandemic, but also wasn't sure I wanted to deal with it when it came out. So peace out, I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye!